Hello and welcome to this edition of the WT Coaches Show. I'm your host, Kelton Weens, and I'm here with Lady Buff Volleyball head coach Jason Skoch. Now, Coach, you finished your regular season at Texas Women's and Texas A&M Commerce last weekend. Tell us about those.
It was a good weekend. It was a really good mental weekend in the sense of preparation for the players. TW and Commerce are both playing very well. TW brought a big crowd, got some paraphernalia out there, big signs, and so we had to win on their place to finish out. And again, the goal is just to win, but looming in the background was a chance to go undefeated. And then after that, we had to get the girls to understand as that game's done, now we go to Commerce, who has beaten Angelo and TW, and got to tell them it's a different kind of monster and we got to focus again. So there's a lot of stuff, and then off the court, we have 2 kids that have had some family members that were very sick, and so their families came and surprised those kids because it's just easier to fly into Dallas. And so you had the end of the year, you had the idea of going undefeated, but you actually had to play these physical games and take them one at a time. And then these kids dealing with family, very personal matters. So I thought it was a really good weekend just because the girls succeeded, but by dealing with a lot of emotional stuff on and off the court.
Coach, you've got the conference tournament coming up this weekend. Dang it. Okay. You've got the conference tournament coming up this weekend, and you're now in postseason volleyball. And how do you keep your girls from looking ahead to the regional tournament coming and keeping them focused on this match right now?
Well, it's an interesting thing because today the regional polls come out and all the kids, I think someone's talking with them that's not a coach in the sense of about regionals and all this, and it's just as simple as like we're fortunate that we're probably in the tournament. Okay, so it's about hosting. So we told the girls, like, if we have hopefully 3 matches before regionals, and so it's heavy enough to think about 3 matches. We just need to focus on Thursday. So we got to get that truth across, and then just a simple reminder is it doesn't matter what the polls are today. If we lose, we know we're not going to have a chance of hosting. So what we like to do is paint the big picture and then scale it down so they understand is that big picture will not happen if these little parts ahead of it don't occur. So we're going to remind the girls today at practice, and then remember and just remind them the only thing that we're seeing right now is green, and that's Eastern New Mexico.
You've got a lot of players on your team that are playing in their first Lone Star Conference tournament. How are you approaching preparing them for the experience?
I think our preparation starts from the beginning of the year. And so I think why the girls did really good last year, and again, it's not a cure-all because other teams want to win and there's a lot that go into it. But I think one of the reasons we traditionally seem to be strong is we deal with this at the beginning of the year and talk about how we approach every game the same, regardless. We got to have. It sounds sort of cheesy, but like we got to be playing for the right reasons. We just want to be great. We want to be, it's not because we don't like this team or this other external influence. You just got to want to be your best every time you step on the court. And we inject pressure situations from the beginning of the season. So I think we do some of our stumbling at the beginning, which helps. We're more refined by now, and then because of the new kids, we've had to have some tough moments in practice because these new kids they're starting to get a little too settled, and so we had to talk about an edge. And so the long story short is the one teams and coaches are always looking for an edge. So the 2 through 8 seed, it's easy to get an edge. We're not hosting, or they got lucky, we split with them early in the year. You know what I mean? Or we were injured and now we're on our hot streak. Let's show them, right? So what's your edge when you're the 1 seed? You're hosting. So if you believe in that idea, then the flip is true. Then while those people step it up just that notch, the host teams got to be careful because they could actually lower themselves just that notch, and that's the difference. So we're going to remind the girls today, but other than that, you just got to trust them, and they've been doing a good job.
Coach, after not hosting the tournament last season and now it returns to the box, how good does that make you feel?
It's really good. Again, from the beginning of the season, when we were in the Elite Eight last year, I felt our best foot forward, even with the injuries we had at the end of the year. I feel like we could have made a push for the championship. But the one thing I knew, I had a rough feeling about the Elite Eight because we spent 5 days in San Angelo. One, get a 2 half-day break, or I'm sorry, we got Thanksgiving, and then we spent 5 days in Denver, Colorado, right? And we got a 1.5-day break, and then we flew to the Gulf of Mexico. The girls were physically and mentally gassed. They were worried about their finals. They were living out of a suitcase. I just think it drains you. So by the time we got to Elite Eight, we were drained a little. To give you an example, BYU Hawaii, they hosted their regional. They had not been off their island since the early middle of October. So by the time December comes around, they were juiced. So we talked about how Imagine doesn't guarantee anything, because look at Angelo and then look at Regis hosting regionals. But we talked about it, how imagine if we could sleep in our own beds for a couple more days compared to last year and be able to put more onto the court, you know what I mean, because we're not traveling. So it means a lot, and we hit on that early, and I think that's another reason why the girls have done so good about winning these critical matches so we can host. It was fresh in their minds about the pain of last year and all the travels.
Finally, Coach, Eastern New Mexico steps on the court to face you guys on Thursday at 7:30. Eastern New Mexico hadn't been a pushover this season. What can you say about that match?
No, the new coach is really good, and they're figuring it out. That's the thing, is they're figuring it out. They took Commerce to 5. I think they beat Tarleton. They took a few sets off TWU. They really pushed us to their place. They're figuring it out, and the first thing is they're figuring out how to play better at home. They're a much better team at home. So the next phase of a team developing is, how do they play on the road? So the thought is they're going to come to play because they have nothing to lose, and they're figuring it out with the new coach. So again, it goes back to we don't talk about the other teams as much as we talk about making sure we're doing our part. So, but Eastern's scary because they have the pieces. I just don't know if they realize that yet. And if they do, then they're very good.
Well, Coach, thanks for your time and good luck this
Thank you.
weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this edition of the Coaches Show for the WT Sports Network and Coach Skoch. I'm Kelton Weens.